This conference will now be recorded.
All right, let's go ahead and jump in. I think we'll have a couple more folks joining here soon, but let's go ahead and get started. So, special claims. I think we throw around the term a lot, but not a lot of us know what that actually means. I'm not sure I would include myself in the group that really knew what it meant until Christian walked me through everything he does over the last few days. But so here we just kind of want to take the mystery out of it. We want to talk through like what we're actually talking about, why it matters, what matters, and how this all works. So hopefully you guys have a kind of a bigger picture understanding of why we're asking for certain things in certain documents. So what are special claims? So HUD allows us, and this is included in our HAP contract, HUD allows us to collect 80% of the contract rent amount for a unit from the time that a unit is made ready up until a new household takes possession of the unit. So either moves in or transfers in. So it's sort of like free money. If we just had that unit vacant for that period between one household's move out and another household's move in, we wouldn't get any revenue. Special claims allows us to get 80% for a portion of that. So here's kind of a timeline, and this is a real life example from a real life claim that was just submitted. So in this first blue period over here on the left, we have the household that's paying rent and HUD paying subsidy for that household up until the point that they move out. As of the move-in date until the unit is made ready, we lose out. We don't get anything for that. Once the unit is made ready though, the earlier of the make ready date plus 59 days or the date that the new household takes possession of the unit, we're allowed to claim special claim for that period. After the 59 days, if the new household hasn't moved in, then it's a kind of a vacancy loss. And then once the new household moves in, we're back to receiving revenue on that unit, both from the rent side and from the HAP side. So this whole black period, basically, we're allowed to collect money from HUD. We can't just say, hey, give us $2,000. We have to back it all up with documentation. Still waiting for the day when we can say, hey, give me $2,000, and they say yes, though. I'm sure it's coming. So that documentation, what does it look like? It looks like a lot. It's all these forms here. So these first two are HUD forms. The first one really is kind of these are all the units we're submitting claims for right now. This is the person who moved out. This is how much we're asking for in total. Excuse me. The second HUD form really breaks down the map. This is when the old household moved out. This is when the unit was ready. This is the contract run amount. This is when someone moved in. This is how much. It really looks like it should be part of a tax return. Then we're looking for the move-in, because we have to be able to show that we took a security deposit on the unit when the original household moved in. We have to show that not only did we charge it, but it was collected. And then we'll include a move-out statement to show what we did with that security deposit. All three of those really are kind of key to one thing. HUD says, you can collect all this money, but only up to the point that you haven't got income from another source. That other source could be a security deposit, where the resident didn't give us 30-day notice, so they forfeited it. So we're holding on to that security deposit. HUD isn't going to double pay us for that. It also takes into account damages. So if we use the money for damages, that's taken into account. Then we need documentation that verifies the date that the unit was made ready. They can't just work for it. And then lastly, we need waitlist documentation from admissions. And that helps show, hey, we took every step we could to fill this unit as early as possible. Here's all the people on the wait list. Here's where we pulled this person off. Here's where we interviewed them. Here's where we approved them. And then they ultimately moved in. You look at all these documents, a whole lot of them have to do with what you all do, right? Christian's kind of compiling all this, but the move-in, the security deposit, move-out statement, And then the make ready are all things that are done on site. Christian's just kind of gathering it all up and putting it together. So the when, how, and to whom. So on a monthly basis, Christian reviews reports in Yardi and gets a list of potential special claims. He uses Monday to track these, and we'll look at that here in a second. There's kind of a couple guidelines he goes by. So if a claim would result in less than 3 days payment, we don't process it. We figure that at that point, we're paying Christian more to put it together than HUD would give us in special claim money. And Christian has plenty to do already. And then if we can't get timely move out, make ready, or move in date stuff, we can't submit. If we can't prove when a unit was made ready, then we can't ask HUD for money based off of that date. Just hopping over to Monday real quick. It's never real quick when you want it to be. Each of these potential claims are kind of organized in groups. So down here at the bottom, we have ones that were ineligible, right, for one reason or the other. We have ones that are already approved. Then if we just start with vacant units, these are kind of the vacant units that Christian is tracking. They're vacant because as of the last time he looked at this, there wasn't a new household occupying the unit. And again, this is a monthly process for him, which is usually done after vouchers. So between the 11th and 13th is typically when he's pulling the reports and looking and updating this stuff. This month, I think it's going to be on the 12th, whichever day is not the weekend, 11th, 12th, or 13th. And so he's compiling and tracking all these vacant units and waiting for them to be reoccupied so then he can get started on collecting all this documentation. The pending claims, you can see there's 103. Those are the units where he's actively working on getting documents, either from you all, from admissions, or compiling himself from Laserfish. You can see if you scroll over here to the right, these are kind of all the steps, all the documents he has to grab. So the unit's reoccupied, he's going through filling out dates, names, figuring out what his deadline is, which is really the key driver to all of this. The deadline is based off of the make ready date. So once the unit is reoccupied and we have a make ready date, that determines when the deadline is, when he has to submit it to HUD. And then as well, there's these, which he's working on putting on vouchers now, which are either the September vouchers that he just finished, or a couple may have to sneak through to the next month. So once he submits those to HUD, HUD approves and applies a claim number. Christian then puts that on the voucher, and that's when we ask for the money. On the first of the next month, or first business day of the next month, is when we actually get paid. So we kind of touched on this, but the key part is claims have to be submitted to HUD within 180 days of the make ready date. 180 days sounds like a long time out. Sometimes it is. That's 6 full months. But remember, he can't really do anything until the unit is reoccupied. So it could be that a unit is made ready, but then it takes a few months, right, for the unit to get filled for whatever reason, which really starts to shrink his deadline. And he can't really get started on this because it all really keys off of when the household is reoccupied. Most of the documentation is based on that unit being reoccupied, and so that's what he's waiting on. So this is a real life example of that. A household moved out in September of 22. The unit was made ready on February of 23, which is a long time, but there were thousands of dollars worth of damage. It was a long make ready. That's just how it happened. And then I think we had some trouble filling this one as well. A new household didn't move in until June 6th. So the deadline to submit this was 8/16 because it's based off of that February date. But the new household didn't move in until June, so he couldn't even really get started until then. any delay in processing the move-in or getting good data, and we lose out on the claim, which ended up being a little over $1,000. The other part of this, and the key part I'm going to keep harping on, to be honest, is without a make-ready date, Christian doesn't know when his deadline is. All he knows is that a household moved out, a new one moved in, and he's just kind of guessing, trying to get documents, trying to figure out when it might be due if he doesn't have a good, reliable make-ready date. And to be honest, if it's mid-June, he's probably thinking this claim is a lost cause, not knowing there was thousands of dollars in damage, and yeah, that it could very well still be in play. So all this to say, there's a whole lot of balls in the air with special claims that Christian's juggling. There's 103, and this is a current snapshot, right, based off of data from last month when Christian went through the claims again. 103 that are eligible, that have to be reviewed, where we have to compile documents. 23 that are awaiting HUD approval, and then 68 vacants that he's waiting to update this month on when the unit was reoccupied, what that make-ready date would be, and where he can get the documents for those claims. Sounds like a lot of work. It is a lot of work. The question is it worth it? And it is. So since 2020, we have almost $250,000 just in special claims. That's a lot of money going back to your budget. A lot of money helping to pay for things. And we've never had one that was denied. And in fact, HUD uses our forms and our process to train other management agents. So the process works, but just like anything else, we can tighten it up a little bit. So let's talk about documents. And you can kind of break the documents down that are required for a special claim into 3 general categories. You have your move-out documentation for the previous household, the make-ready documentation showing when the unit was ready, and then the waitlist documentation for the new household that occupies the unit. So let's first take a look at a sample packet, and then we can kind of talk through some generalities. So this is a real life example from North Loop. It was submitted to HUD earlier this week. It was top in my inbox, so it got used as our example. So this is for one particular unit. This is one packet, and this is account 24 at North Loop. So we have our checklist. Here's all the things we're providing. And this was kind of that first general HUD form that we talked about. This is the summary where we're submitting special claims for 3 separate households. This one corresponds to Jonathan, who's this top one, where it's 1,129 that we're asking for. Here is the second HUD form, where it's really outlining the specifics. So tenant's move out date, the number of days it took to make the unit ready, the make ready date, the make ready date plus 59 days, which is the most HUD's gonna pay us, and then the date that the unit was reoccupied. Contract rent for this unit is $729. If we divide that by the number of days in the month, that's $23.52. $23.52 times 60 days is $1,411.20. This one we'll see in just a second. There were some security deposit implications. And so that amount gets reduced and it becomes $1,129 that we're asking for. Next, we have the move-in 5.9, where it's going to show the security deposit amount that we charged, followed by the ledger, where we show we actually charged it. And then the move-out statement. We can see that the security deposit was $184. The damages were $75. So in HUD saying that you kind of can't double dip, right? We're not gonna, you can't use the security deposit funds and the special claim. So we take out from the 184, we subtract the $75 for damages, and then everything else is kind of considered ours. So that's where that 109 comes from. That's the amount that the special claim was reduced by. Next, we have the security deposit payment, showing how that'll work out in the move out statement. The new household when they move, I'm sorry, the move out cert, showing the effective date. The work order period activity details, which is going to come from the Make Ready dashboard, which shows that the unit was made ready on the 16th. So then it's ready for occupancy on the 17th. And then lastly, the documentation that admissions provided, showing the steps that we took in filling the unit with the new move-in household. So all these documents are kind of gathered together and then put together in a packet. It's then submitted off to HUD, who then approves it, returns it to us, who we then put on a voucher, where HUD then pays us, and it comes back into your property budgets the first of the next month. So that's the packet. Let's get back to specific documentation. Is there any questions so far, though? Nope, good. We'll keep rolling. So move out documentation for the previous household. So we don't typically have a whole lot of issues with this. Christian's going to go in and grab things from Laserfish to put together into the packets. A few things, just reminders, and things you are already doing well, but we've got new folks on the call. So move out date is the date we get possession of the unit. There's sometimes some question about that, but if a household moves out, it's the date that we are legally allowed to take possession of it. Second reminder is to remember to process your move outs timely. I think the SOPs give you 2 business days. When we talk about process the move out, really all we're saying is complete functions move out in Yardi so that the resident shows is passed, and then do the move out Laserfish business process. So it's going to move everything down into their former tenants folder. That makes it real clear to admissions, to Christian, to everyone else that this household has moved out. It gets it into Yardi, so the move out can then go onto the voucher and be sent to HUD. And then lastly, ensure you're collecting security deposits. So if you're getting it at move-in, great. If it's an installment agreement, make sure you're enforcing that and getting the payment every month as agreed upon. There is in Yardi, if you switch to the residential manager role, there's an unpaid charges report where it allows you to look up charges that are unpaid based on the charge code. The charge code for security deposits is DEPSEC. If you put that in, it'll give you the list of your households that have unpaid security deposit charges. There you should see, households who haven't moved in yet or haven't had a payment applied, or households on installment agreements. If there's anyone else or any questions on those, open an LIH service request and we'll take a look. Make ready documentation. Let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to it. In terms of move-in documentation for the new households, we don't see a lot of major issues here either. So just make sure you're finalizing your move-ins in Yardi and Laserfish as they happen. Change the status from future or approved into current is what that does. It'll let admissions, everyone else know this unit is reoccupied. Again, make sure you're collecting security deposits. And then for those of you who have units that are being filled from a Yardi wait list, there's new screens now where you're needing to put in notes for moving households in. Make sure you're doing that and making clear notes. Which brings us back around to make readies, which continue to be the biggest issue when it comes to special claims. It's also just kind of a big issue overall, where we're continuing to see make ready issues. This is definitely a part of the training where I say I don't have all the answers. If you guys have any thoughts or suggestions or ideas, we'd love to hear them. There is a new maintenance module that Michael and others are working toward implementing eventually, which hopefully will help make this a little bit more intuitive and clear. But for now, the system we have is the system we've got. With regard to make readies, the biggest issues we're seeing are just not using the make ready dashboard at all. We're also having issues with work orders that aren't closed timely. We'll look at an example of what that looks like here in a minute. I think there's some confusion about how key-to-key work orders work. And then if all of that fails, then we have to resort to make ready logs. We're struggling to get those back on time. So this is not a make ready dashboard training. I think I've done like 5 of those. This is not that. There is, however, if you hop into ready. Oh, Michael's waving.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to mention when Brian talked before about the maintenance IQ coming up in the not too distant future. The process that he's talking about right here with the Make Ready dashboard, it's going to be that process going forward. So a lot of these steps are going to carry over. So if you haven't learned the full details on the Make Ready dashboard yet, please do, because this is going to become much more, for lack of a better way of saying it, hard baked into the Yardi process. And so the sooner you learn it, the easier it'll be. And I do believe it really will make things easier for you and fewer steps in the long run.
Thank you. Make ready dashboard training. There is a make ready dashboard training already in HakaU. When you log in over here on the right under the resource tab, there's custom content. If you click on that, it'll take you to the screen, and under micro content courses, there's LIH make ready process. It's under micro content because it's really short, and that's the point. Go in and get what you need. It's not like other trainings where you have to sit and listen to the lady talk for 20 minutes before it'll let you click next. You click to whatever step you need to go to, whatever step you need help with, and the idea is it walks you through. This is a great resource on demand anytime you can and take a look at it. So not doing a full walkthrough, will be somewhat quick in going through this. I see there is a question though from Shonda. Just a second. If I can figure out how to. There we go. Someone else has their mic on. It's making difficult to hear. Is there a way to get a list or have access to potential units that are special claims? Good question. So any unit with a vacancy is a potential special claim. And we're going to submit it as a special claim. The only times when we're not going to submit a vacancy as a special claim then is if the period between the make ready date and the move-in is less than 3 days, or if we miss the deadline. So they're almost all potential special claims. They are all potential special claims. It's just a matter of what we're going to submit in the end. So really, it's every single one starts out as a special claim. Whether we submitted it or not is up to how quickly it was filled, or if we can get good documents. All right. So when you have a vacancy, when a household is moved out in Yardi, on the Make Ready dashboard, you're going to click Add Make Ready over here. It's then going to take you to a screen that looks like this, and there's kind of 2 different paths, 2 different ways to go, depending on whether Haka staff is doing the Make Ready or whether the Make Ready is being done by an outside company. So the screenshot you see here is one done by Haka staff. You can see 1 through 4 are checked. which are kind of the general outline procedures for a make ready. We have start date, the number of days we expect it to take for each of those 4 steps. And then we would click save and close. This is really kind of a general idea. This is real, you don't need every single one of these steps. You don't have to click every single one. If the unit belonged to a sweet old lady who cleaned the unit better than I could when she was leaving it, and you don't need a trash out, then don't click trash out. What you're always going to have is final prep, which is intended to be kind of the last walkthrough, the making sure everything works. You're always going to have final prep. In fact, you're always going to have final on both the Haka make ready and a key to key. Here is a key to key example with 4 and 5 check. So the number 5 key to key part is the part where the outside is doing their work. Number 4 final prep is the same thing as it is with the Haka version. It comes after. So even though these aren't quite in the order that we would like, it's key to key first, followed by final prep, which is the walkthrough from your maintenance guys, making sure everything is in tip-top shape. So key to key is going to go first. Here we have 8, 9 through for 10 days, and then on the 19th, 1 day for the final prep. These are estimates. You can absolutely update these later on, but these are the estimates that you start with that are then translated to the Make Ready dashboard. So here we have kind of both of our examples listed, top one being key to key, and then the bottom one being the Haka staff version. As we said before, they're estimates when you put them in, so they have the EST at the end. You can see here on the trash out that this is changed to ACT, standing for actual, which is the date that the work is actually done. And it's actually that number 4 final prep work order that makes the unit ready. Closing that work order makes the unit ready. Which leads to issues like this. So here we can see, this is the number 4 work order. Here we can see that the actual work done was done on August 8th. However, what it already does is the date that the work order is actually marked as completed is the date that it uses. So here, Brad did what he needed to do between 11 and 12 on August 8th, but the date that this unit is going to be shown to be ready is the 9th, which is the day that I closed it. That's an issue we see a lot of times with the special claims. And I think I've got an example here. So this is another real life example. You can see that this household, Stephanie, she moved out in January of 2023. Christina moved in on May 19th, but the completed date for the final prep work order is May 23rd. And Christian runs across this quite a bit, where the unit was made ready 4 days after the household moved in. That's a situation where he's going to have to check the make ready log, ask you, okay, hey, what really happened? So my big message on this one is to encourage, beg, cajole, cupcake, throw daily, closing work order parties, whatever you have to do to encourage your maintenance staff to close them as they complete the work.
Hey, Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so it sounds easy, but it's not as easy as it sounds. So I'm talking about when you have contractors, I'm talking about Meadowbrook. We have work that is very extensive here, like a remodel. So to get the contractors out here timely, we don't have enough contractors. I'm still waiting for another contractor to give me, I don't have this or I don't have that. It's not, it's for Meadowbrook, because we have a lot of remodels, bathtub, this, that, and the other. And again, you have to work really closely with the contractors to make sure that they're going to be here from the 1st through the end of the month, you know, and stuff happens. So it's not easy sometimes here at Meadowbrook. I don't know about anywhere else.
I totally hear you. And so I would encourage bake Joel cupcakes, throw dance parties, not require for one. So what you can do, right? What you can do. The other part is remember that the make ready date is based off of number 4. So in a key-to-key scenario, we're not talking about the third-party contactors and tubs and all of that. We're talking about the final prep. So when your guys walk through and confirm, yes, this is all done.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's all done when the contractors abate it, when the contractors do this, that, the other. I understand. Yeah, okay.
And also just to add in that when you're first putting in the work orders and putting in those dates, those are estimated dates. There's no expectation that that's going to be exactly correct because we fully understand exactly what you were just talking about, Isa. You know, contractor says they're going to be done by the 1st and it takes until the 8th before they actually get done, or even later, whatever it may be. that shouldn't stop us. And I wouldn't worry about whether that estimated date is right. Still put a date in and get it in there. So then the work order is there,
Okay.
and then the maintenance guys can close it out as soon as the contractor's done, and then do the final prep when they're done with that after the contractor.
Okay.
And the other issue we talked about before was just not using the make ready dashboard at all. And so in those cases, what happens is once the unit is reoccupied with a new move-in, Yardi just picks a make ready date that's the day after the move out. And so that's Christian's signal that, hey, something's not right here. If a household moved out on January 1st, the make ready date is January 2nd, and the new move-in date is March. He knows there's an issue and he'll have to ask for make ready logs. And the other part of that is, if we go back to this original timeline that we looked at, we touched on this before, without a make ready date, Christian doesn't know when his deadline is. That's what drives the deadline for submitting the claim to HUD. And without that date, until we get a make ready log back, we're just kind of hoping that we can submit a special claim and waiting for the actual make ready date to know whether we've missed the deadline or not. The other hard part about this, and I underlined it down at the bottom, is a lot of times this means kind of going back to your maintenance staff and having them try and remember what they did 5 months ago in getting the actual dates for make readies, which is really, really tough. So really the easiest solution is using that make ready dashboard. When the final walkthrough is done, closing that work order that day, which then gives us a good date to go off of when submitting the claim to HUD. So biggest takeaways: 1, collect on your security deposit. 2, complete move-in quickly. And again, we're talking about just moving them in and moving them out of Yardi, understanding that there are other things to come, like estimates for damages and all kinds of things with the move process, but just moving them out so that they show pass, and moving them in so they show current. Having your maintenance staff close work orders as they complete the work. And then we can all Scrooge McDuck in the large bath of money that we receive from special claims. Any questions, thoughts, ideas, anything else anybody wants to bring up?
So there's no way
All right,
to
then.
know when they're gonna actually be like special claims? Or should we just treat every unit that comes out as a special claim? Reason why I'm asking is because sometimes, like Issa was saying, it does take a minute to figure out what is going to be or how long it's going to be. And then by the time we get it from Christian, it could be that we done forgot some dates. And so that's my fear as far as, hey, are we submitting the correct dates with or without the Make Ready dashboard?
That's my fear too. Every vacancy is a special claim, essentially. I would guess that 98% of vacancies end up as a special claim. Again, the only time they do not is if the period of time between the unit being made ready and reoccupied is 2 days. So if you think about that, that's really moving. That's for assigning someone very quickly, who accepts very quickly, who moves in very quickly, or if we miss the deadline. So those are really the only two scenarios where we're not submitting a special claim. If we miss the deadline, it's because we didn't get good make ready dates in time, or a move out or move in was processed really late.
And again, I'll chime in that when the unit first becomes vacant and you're creating through the dashboard, creating those work orders when putting dates in, the dates that you're putting in are not the dates that are the final dates. The dates that matter are the date when maintenance actually closes the work order. Those are just estimates that you're putting in. And so if you're right, Shonda, you might not know because of the contractor, and you're putting in your best guess. That's okay. That doesn't hurt anything, because when maintenance then goes back and closes the work order after that work is done, that's the date that matters.
Does that make sense, Shonda?
Yes.
Anything else? Any other questions, thoughts? All right. Well, thank you all for your time. I think next month we're going to do another general technology tips and tricks section. It seemed like that one went over really well last time. So we've got a lot of new folks. We'll do something similar. So just kind of navigating Yardi, navigating Laserfish, setting some things up in Monday.com. So that's what we'll plan on next week. I'm sorry, next month. Until then, we'll see you around. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, B.